When you are aligned, what body sensations do you feel, like the opposite what you talked about right now?
Well, first of all, I sense, and what is this called? When the senses are connected, idiosyncrasies or something. I almost like feel light, yeah, not see with the eyes. I exude or feel like light from a bulb, light bulb, a source of light. And this is everything almost gets like bright or yellow even. And that's like, something is right. And it's also like, almost like little flurring particles are in the air. So it's a very much how and I can remember when I was young, I had a friend. He was not a partner, it was not a romantic thing. It was a good friend, and he must have recognized me because whenever I was with him, I had this. But we were not at all interested in each other romantically. But with him, I had this, and it was so beautiful. And I had a boyfriend. Apparently, there were lots of not self attractions with that guy, and whenever I was with him, I did not have it. And then once I remember, we were all in the same student home, and with this guy who I had this beautiful light, and the air was filled with little silvery particles, and I felt, yeah, invigorated and alive and happy. This happy, happy, happy thing. And then my boyfriend walked in, and it was all gone. Yeah, so then I didn't know. Now I would immediately think, oh wow, he really smothers me, my authority. He always also told me off what was wrong with me, which I could only accept because that's how I was raised. That was the known thing. Somebody telling me I wasn't good enough. That's what kind of relationships I had in the beginning. And this other person who made me feel so good, so myself, so full of this light and love and warmth and a pull, I wanted to embrace the whole universe, then I was not even associating with the person. So only in hindsight I could find out what it was, because now I have access to my inner authority. And I know with some people it's there and with others it isn't. Or I can bring it out when I'm true to myself. But then I didn't know. And I just remember this strong thing, the whole room being filled with love and light, and me feeling happy and growing, and the person I chose consciously as a boyfriend destroying it, and me not being aware that then my inner authority shrank, apparently. Yeah, so that's was a sad period of my life. But now with my husband, it's so much better. My second husband, he recognizes me. So that's important. I have somebody in my life who sees who I am as good as he can, but over the time he knows who I am as long as until I'm not. and and the good thing is also that we do not permanently live together. That sounds cruel, but that's
Dream
more,
projector life.
yeah. He's now in South Africa. We haven't seen each other for 2 months, and I'm joining him there in 2 weeks. I'm traveling there. And then I have to make sure still that I get enough of my space and time because, of course, I'm pulled towards his motors. And fortunately, when we have periods together, which are good and inspiring, and he's supportive, he's tribal, but then I need to be on my own again and feel like still his support is there. But I need my own time, and it can be weeks that I need. So I don't know how other projectors do that if they live with somebody in the house. Yeah, it probably is not
when you
notice.
when you already feel this need, how do you use your authority? Do you then speak it out? Oh, I need time for myself, and then you listen, or do you even ask yourself the question, I will take time now, or no, I don't? Do
I,
you even need this yes or no anymore? Sounds like not.
now I feel it like a pressure and discomfort in my body, which just tells me I need to be on my own. And as my husband is a manifest, of course, I can't tell him, can you just go out of the house? I need to say it in a way where I would really need to be my own aura. And this was quite a long process. In the beginning, he felt offended because he always said, "Oh, I don't mind if you're around. I can still do my stuff." I'm like, yeah, good for you. So he automatically assumed that it was the same for me. I don't blame him. Yeah, how would he know how what it feels like for me? So this was a long process to say, showing him it's not about you. And although he wasn't really interested in human design, to infiltrate that with him how I function, and now he knows and he's aware. And he, at least in winter, we were once stuck in lockdown in Austria for months. It was like almost 10 months the first year of COVID. And I mean, I had to leave for some job I did as an advisor, which was partially good, partially not so good. But at least I was out of his aura. And then when we were at home, both, he put on his running shoes and he ran. And I could just be like, ah, whew. Yeah, it was a small apartment. And then when he came back after half an hour, I was like, "Oh, you're back already?" And it was like, "It has -5 degrees. What do you expect me to do?" Because no bar was open, no restaurant. He couldn't really go anywhere. So that was the most extreme thing we had together, and where he would understand but couldn't do anything about it. And it took me quite something to really make it clear to him. And then sometimes I stomped through the apartment. So I really acted out. I was like, "Yeah, I know, but what should I do?" So that was a hard time. And if we were stuck in such a situation, I think he would not understand or feel 100% how it is for me. Because for him, I'm pleasant. That's just different. But the funny thing is, now he shares the house with another manifester until I come. She will then move out, the house he rents there in Johannesburg. And he now says, "Oh, I really, wow, that's too much. Even if she's just moving in the house, yeah, I need space. I need," so he says exactly the same thing. She has different centers defined. I mean, and so I need to use it then when I'm there. Say, "Honey, you remember when you shared the house with so and so? That's a bit, although I love you, but that's how I feel with you, although I love you." Hmm?
I understand, and they do not see us when we are without them logically.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like immediately when my mother visits me with her defined root and the emotional center, I can't relax with her in the room. That's
Mhm.
impossible. It's like bees, like humming in the air. I feel the energy of the
Mhm.
root like that.
Okay, well, that's an extreme. Maybe with my husband, I can have a very good time and relax if he is not in work mode. If he also,
Yeah, she always is. She's in not self, so she can't even sit there for 5 minutes and do
Mhm.
nothing. She always has to do something.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
it's the not self I feel.
that's the not self, yeah. Because I guess if she could relax as a non-sacral, there could be pleasant times. But apparently, she's so conditioned also in her sacral that she can't let go of that. Yeah, the frequency is already in her deep, deep. My husband can get into work mode, and then he's talking on Zoom or whatever conferences. And as he has this manifesting voice connected to his ego motor, that's also very unpleasant if I want to relax. Then I can't, even if I'm in the room next to him. This frequency in the house is so, because they need to have an impact, these manifestors. That's what they are here for. And then I don't want the impact. I'm fine without any impact. You probably are too. But unfortunately, he knows and he can switch off, and then we travel or we do something, or just relax and talk, and that's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah, I have one of the gates. It's described as I can sit on a mountain for, I think it's in the root, for
Yeah,
hours. So I'm the
52.
perfect meditator. I can sit there for 3 hours and do nothing, just meditate, let everything happen. That's the
Mm,
most genius, the best feeling I got anywhere to just
mm,
my heart opens. It's just this allowing everything to flow.
yeah, yeah. I have.
That's
Mm.
say that to a manifesting generator.
Oh no, 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 no. My former partner was also a manifesting generator and he could not sit still either. Even when it was in Ibiza and he was renting a big old finca with a built a natural swimming pool, like really with stones. He did everything himself. And when we tried to relax at the pool, and it was so beautiful, just olive trees, and it was paradise, he had to get a broom, and every little leaf that was lying around had. I was like, we are breathing. Could you just sit next to me, or let's just swim a bit, or like just relax in the water, soaking. It wasn't very very big. No, he had to have his broom and just brush all the leaves from one side to the other. Immaculate terrace or immaculate like whatever.
I think when they are aligned with their action, it's actually right for them, but it just drives us crazy. It's
Yeah,
just for me, my dream picture is like being a hermit and area somewhere remote where people need to travel per foot, walk there for an hour at least with no road. And I'm so the hot pick where you can see everyone knows, oh, there is someone who can give great advice like in the
Mhm.
old stories. I would love to
Absolutely.
be like
Yeah.
them in the nature, remote,
Mm.
and only when this hour of walking is so important because then only people come who truly want to know
Mm.
when
That's
we are not so
beautiful.
available
Yeah,
always.
that would
So
be a
that's
very nice thing also for coaching, like walk with people. It's first of all, yeah, the body is good for the body, and if you're in a nice environment, and by that guiding, like with our wisdom and what we are here for, it's also a very nice idea. I know people who do that. I mean, I manifest a woman. I know she has guided walks. I haven't been on it, but I thought also when she said that she offers that, I was like, wow, that's great. That's something I could also imagine. But then I'm not walking. I'm rather in the woods on my own. I love the woods, and when I go there and I sit under a tree, I don't need anybody. So I really want to enjoy nature. It's more like absorbing um, that woods because with my open spleen, I need healthy spleens, and a wood always has a healthy spleen because the sign of plants they have spleens. Not all of them. This also depends on their birth time. There are charts for plants even, but there's always one or the other tree for sure, or even little beings, animals. They have some spleens, and this is such an ecosystem. There are enough healthy spleens for me to replenish
interesting.
my spleen, my open spleen. And I feel so good.
Yeah, what I meant was that they need to travel to me for an hour, but I also love to
Ah,
observe
so
how
you are
people
already
walk.
there.
Yes,
Oh,
so
okay. So
like a hermit.
misunderstood.
Yes,
Hmm.
but
Okay, yeah.
also the misunderstanding was good too because I can tell most things about a person when I just observe him walking or her.
Mm-hmm.
I I
Mm-hmm.
always observe, and it's interesting because we have a rhythm, and I feel like my projector rhythm is much slower. So my natural way would be to walk really aware and slow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when I get in the wrong energy or in the not self, in the
Mm-hmm.
shadow, then I start to hustle and I walk much faster than I used to, and how we touch the ground and how our posture is, it says so much about a person.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Takes me also a
Also,
while to be in the woods. I also rush into the woods usually when I start out. Again, I mean, first of all, because I want to be in the woods, I get already impatient. I want to be far away from civilization. I want to get into it as deep as possible, and then to slow down a bit and take everything in and walk with awareness. So also sit somewhere for a while and then walk again. Yeah, that's a different way of moving. But as you say, it can easily happen like, poof, get into it, yeah, and do some exercise with it, combine it with health fitness. There was also some.
get things done.
Yeah. You have an hour
The
now.
open ego, you need to improve yourself.
Still not sporty enough. Yeah. Mm.
I've heard that the self projected authority is not so dependent on invitations like the others. Do you find that true?
Yes, I mean, if it's about other people, of course, we need them to invite us upon recognizing. I can't just have a partnership with somebody without them inviting me. Yeah, because what would I be in that relationship? Somebody who uses the person who tells them what to do, it doesn't work. But anything that's about myself, I think more than with other people, because this pull that is really about the G is about direction, also love and direction. To go to something doesn't mean like in miles or kilometers, it can be just into something new, something that is for me. This movement in time and space, even when I'm sitting in front of the computer, that's the G4, and that's stronger than other things where other people may need others even for that more. Of course, a projector can always do what they love, but it's less probably about direction with other authorities than with the G. And so for me, studying something, moving somewhere, even traveling, I don't need an invitation unless it's really expensive or it's a place where other people need to provide something. Then it's great to have an invitation. Yeah, come to that place and I pay for it. I mean, that's really great. I'm not saying that's not good. But usually, yes, we are more like hummingbirds that we just are on our path. And if we can align our G with our trajectory, it's just going off, yeah, without that invitation, for sure.
Have you always talked to yourself as a child? So
Hmm.
was your authority present in your childhood?
Yes. When I was a small kid, I think very strong. And I had a teddy bear. So I said to everybody, probably instinctively, so not to be, yeah, considered as too weird, that he talks to me. So I had my conversations with the teddy bear, and other people were like, if they were mean, they were like, we can't hear him. I was like, no, he talks. So I just talk to him because he talks to me. And I was really carrying him everywhere, and I talked to him and talked to him. But I was also appealing to my adult self. I know at one point I was maybe 7 or 8, and I observed as a good projector the adults, and I hated what they were doing and how hectic they were and how they didn't see me and how they didn't live and just function. So we lived then in a house that had 5 floors, 5 stories. We had one apartment on second floor, I think. I was standing there on the base of a stair in the middle of the house and looked up on the next level where the next apartments were and imagined my adult self there. So I was talking to myself, but in a later version. And I remember me saying, you don't forget who you are. Yeah. I addressed myself in an older version as you actually. Yeah. So I said, don't you ever forget that. Don't become, yeah, don't become like the other adults. You need to be, just remember me, yeah, that's who I am now. So I was really worried that when I am older, I would become like other adults, just run around and not. see anymore and not feel myself. And unfortunately, when I was a teenager, I was so unhappy that I couldn't get the connection. I was crying every day, I think, for a while. Young adult was also really tough. And only later, in my 30s, I found back to myself more and more slowly, slowly. And then once I went back to the place where I grew up, and I put myself on the higher level, and I looked down on where I was standing as a child, and then I was really trying to still imagine, say, I hear you, you've reached me, I'm back. I was gone for some years or several years, but thank you. That was so strong, that appeal, that it has reached me through the times and space, and it helped me also find back. So,
So really your chi spoke
uh-huh,
to your
absolutely.
older self.
Yeah,
Wow.
that came from the G, definitely. Yeah. Then it was still strong. Yeah. And then I had my teddy bear and myself as an older version. So I was apparently had this instinctive feeling I need to remind myself I must not lose that. I could already see the dangers of getting lost in the not self world. Yeah.
Interesting, because I was always sitting. I have a similar story
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
very
Just to
crazy.
ask, have you
That's
something?
why I ask why it might be connected to the chi. I was always observing my parents with their friends talking on the kitchen table. I was always sitting with them and observing,
Mm-hmm.
listening, maybe the channel of the prodigal.
Mm-hmm.
And after some years, I said to myself, if this means being adult, I never want to be one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I observed in my early years that what they say and talk about and do doesn't make them happy. So why would I do that?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, this is similar. It comes from the same place. I'm sure it comes from the G that who saw and would like to prevent you from becoming that unhappy, busy adult that doesn't see anymore. Yeah.
Even when it's still a struggle, because I enjoyed the HTL, Higher Technical School.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first stepped into the corporate industries,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to get out and I was fleeing, and the energy always grappled me and put me back till I
Mm-hmm.
accepted that it is that way right
Yeah.
now. And
Okay.
now I'm slowly emerging from it. But that might be our destiny as projectors, to really go in, accept that it is that
Mm-hmm.
drama at the moment,
Yes.
and follow this chi and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. If we are not
emerge from
lucky
it.
enough to be raised correctly as projectors, that would look so different. If parents are in human design or have the awareness to ask for a reading for the child, to get the child, and to know how to treat the projector child. I mean, that projector child is growing up so differently. I have a friend, a couple, and their girl is now 8 or 9, or is she already 10? And they knew they both, well, he's a manifester, she's a generator, and they really invited her into nice things, into joy things, always said it's important what she says, and treated her already that with this, like, you are the wise one, you are amazing. So she's developing completely confident. Yeah. So it's not true that we are by nature maybe insecure and all that. If you treat a projector child, they can really rule the world. Because that's has always been supported and always been reinforced. Wow, great. And given her everything that she needed to play out. Yeah. So she was the creativity and the space to be playful with life. And then she also liked to learn things because it came from curiosity, and he really didn't force her into certain things. Well, oh no, she's so clever, she's so intelligent, so She got really a very different upbringing that I had, or most projectors had. So
So
that's
cool. The next generation, you
cool.
lifted the strongest energy. My generation did the next, and now
Yes, yes,
the natural projectors can be
yes.
unfold.
Really amazing projector children who are raised by aware parents. That's the best. And I'm sure that also is like then other people, like even if their little generator friend is not, their parents doesn't know, but just having this correct and self-confident projector as a mate, as a playmate, as a friend, does something good to them. So it has a domino effect. And that's what gives me some hope. Because I know there will never be like, everybody will know about human design and then the world will change. It's not going to happen. But at least the aware people that are raised correctly have an effect on the outside world too. That's all we can. That's a good thing to hope, even if we can't reach everybody and not.
Someone said something very special. He said, the humans will never change, nature must change, and that's what's natural. So that's what 2027 is. Nature is changing, the rhythm is changing, and
Mhm.
then from the inside out, people must dance to a different beat.
Exactly. Yeah, this
So
background.
that's the only way evolution can happen.
Absolutely, yes. It's always there are always mutations because suddenly it's not like every generation is a little bit more like upright. No, there's some of our forefathers millions years ago suddenly got more upright and more upright, yeah, for longer periods, and then suddenly they were walking, yeah. So because they were in a different environment or something had changed in the environment, they needed to from very little to most of the time, and then also with the dropping of the larynx that we could get that we can speak, yeah, with our next relatives the apes can't do. Yeah, they don't have the larynx for that. Even if they understand, they can just talk with sign language, the most intelligent of them. We have the suddenly something changes, and from the seven-centeredness to the nine-centeredness. Okay, first there were five-centered Neanderthals, and suddenly a new wave of people who had mutated come and conquer the world with their seven-centeredness. Yeah, it was suddenly there, and they were more fit for what they needed to do at that time. We think, oh, how terrible! They just went everywhere until they colonized the whole planet, destroy everything. But the program apparently wanted or had it in it can't we cannot completely change that. And the next thing is now that we are nine centered. It's the first time since 250 years that we can have an inner authority which we can listen to, not only follow the program. And the next step will apparently be the emotional awareness, which we do not yet have. We still have it, awareness, but the motor function. And you can't just ignore the motor waves, but this will not be there in the next mutation if this is all as predicted. Yeah, we don't know, but I can well imagine it. Lots of things point towards that. And then there's another really big change ahead, really big one, together with this changing of the background frequency of the cross of the sleeping phoenix. That's a completely different background frequency of individualism, of integration, and we need to be equipped for that. Yeah. But I'm not really afraid of it. I'm sorry for all the people who suffer, and a lot of people suffering under these changes, losing their established structures, being completely confused and or without orientation, without support. That's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, we hold a field of trust. That's everything we can do. We can't go out and drag people in
No, we
to
can't.
trust, but it doesn't help anyone if we lose our shit, like they say too.
Yes.
Like we get fearful.
Mhm. Mhm.
We are just there, like the general. If we are aligned and we are on in our cottage, and they know we are one, but we tend to our stuff. And if they really need us, we might be there.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That leads me to the question how you have lots of experience now with boundaries and their authority. So people are really pushy sometimes. I feel like, especially the emotional authority, when they want something. So
Mm.
they come to you and they say, Teresa, can you do that? And then they spin a story that takes 10 minutes and they tell you everything they need you to do.
Mm.
And how do you utilize this yes or no? Do you feel it immediately that, oh, this is nothing for me? Now I could
Mm.
sense it when I stepped into that energy, it was immediately this rebelling, this no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, of course, it makes me very uncomfortable immediately if somebody approaches me like that. And it can happen if I'm surprised by it or if I'm stressed out by something and not already resting in myself, that old triggers can get me back into my childhood feeling when my mother was like that. So I still have some hooks, and some people sometimes can park there and pull me in the dock onto these hooks and pull me into their story, into their drama. And then I feel like really again fearful, insecure, panic comes up. So that's what then I have to notice. Ah, it's a
It
trigger.
transferred.
It's an old story. Are you in transference? How do you get out of it? And it's not always possible in the next second. That's really, and then sometimes I even have to ask for help. I have a coach, have a therapist, say somebody who knows me, say, and who's also professional in human design, or even if it's not human design, she's in trigger mode again. That's why I really think a reading is a beginning, but everybody needs something or someone to accompany us. Or if we have lived for a long time in a very good place and suddenly something pulls us back, we need to know where we can go to say, hey, I got a bit lost. Help me get out of it. And this other person then can say, or laughs with me or makes it light again. You see, okay, the trigger and can happen. And also encourages me maybe to get back to my inner authority. So I'm not saying I can always do it immediately on my own. I also need other people to help me sometimes when I get a bit lost in that. If I was caught by surprise and if the triggers can, yeah, pull me back into old patterns, old thinking, then I say, okay, I need help. Or just somebody who I can talk to and listens to me, but also maybe not only let me, because it's not only about decision, it's also about somebody who knows what's healthy for me. Yeah, so I have the one or the other person for that. And talking to them is like, how could I get so lost? Yeah, thank you. So I've learned that asking for help is not a shame. And it's something that I had to really allow myself because you've done so much. And I was a Qigong teacher in the past, and I was very transformative to learn that and to practice that. And to do this was also one of my things in Ibiza. I had a group. And how can you now suddenly be so helplessly lost again in all that old stuff? And now I'm like, okay, you can get out quicker if you call so and so, ask so and so, and they know exactly what to remind me of. I
And
appreciate that.
and do you also say, I will get back to you? Because I feel like when there are so many motors from the others,
Mm.
I have observed that I can trust my or utilize my fine authority. So I need to get out of their field,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes speak it out. Do I want to do this or don't I want to do this? Like talking to myself like that. When it's more important decisions, I even ask a friend if I can talk to him about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard immediately, even when my mother asks me, I have this and this, do you want that food? And then my mother already knows. I close my eyes and then I imagine she brings me that, or I even ask myself in my mind, do I want it? Don't I want it? And then I know, and then I give her answer. She already knows that she needs to wait 5 seconds. I have this for years that I pause,
That's very
take a
good.
break, even important for a 5-1,
Mm.
I think. So hold on, hold your horses.
Yeah, that's good with people who know you and have a minimum acceptance at least of that. To me, it happened in winter. I was in a project as an advisor, and the work was fine, and I had lots of people. I helped them, they were unemployed, and I helped them fill in forms and connect them to authorities and really help them. And my clients were all wonderful. But I had a project manager, and I didn't really know her birthday, but I felt there were all the motors, and she was like a freight train rushing into me. And on the phone, she was like, ah, you da, 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 da." So there was not, and even said, so and so, can you just give me a break? So I asked her, and that doesn't work. And you are so like you don't play the victim here, and she was horrible. So there was no chance I could be heard. And the only way, because I didn't want to quit the job, because I knew if I finish do a few weeks longer, then I'm on some educational leave. I have some basic income. I can study more and I get paid for it. So I wanted to hold on a bit and not leave just because of her, although that could also have been a way. And then we went both to our boss, the owner of the company, who is a reasonable person, and he and I asked for mediation. I said I want a mediator or at least a supervision, so that we need a third party involved, because her and I, we don't function and the work suffers, because that's, and he said yes, that's a very good idea. And you both go to supervision. And she was like, no, I'm not sitting with that person even in supervision. I don't need it. It's all her fault. So she was really the absolute personified nightmare. And he insisted.
Projections. Oh my God, yes.
And he insisted. And then we had like 3 or 4 sessions, first each on our own and then together. And we found an agreement how we could survive. And there was even it was a good supervision person mediator. She made us both say what we appreciate about the other. I can see that she's very good with administrative stuff and all that stuff, which I'm not so interested in. And she, in the end, admitted, she said, I think you are very good when you work with people. You are a good advisor. And he would never have said that if this supervisor, this mediator, hadn't worked with us hard, with pictures and this and that. So I got in the end that kind of acknowledge or recognition, because I had spoken up, but I was also lucky. If the boss hadn't been the boss he is, who wants a solution, who pays for supervision, because he says, we are a communication institution, so why would you not talk properly? You use our facilities. And I got it out. I'm still fine. I'm happy. I'm not working with her any longer. I never have to see her again. But it got me through the last 3 months. And it's now I'm in a good place. Yeah, so that was something who would not listen if it was only her and me. No chance.
I feel like when this is a matter of respect,
Yeah.
and the more I come in contact with human design, my chi, my alignment, respect gets stronger and stronger. And for me, I have set a limit. And since I did it funny enough, didn't happen again. I said, when there is no respect,
Mm.
then it's an automatic no.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you say, when there are persons you want to work with, then for me, when I get aggressive, then the gunslinger of the self-projected gets out. Oh, I hit their heart.
Can happen. And I wrote that. Yeah. So I tried to avoid speaking because I didn't want to throw that at her because she is so much more powerful. She must have all the motors. I don't know. Everybody says that, oh my God, her, you work with her. Oh God. So she is known for that. And so I was writing everything. I thought if it comes like she says something, I say something, there's a paper trail. So I was analyzing the situation, but she hated that so much because I like, I don't consider your guiding style or your ever like leadership. That's not good leadership for me, and this I would require and respect and all that. And she was like, "I'm not here in a self-help institute." So she wrote back, and until she was like, "Okay, now we go to the boss." I was like, "Okay." So I had her actually in a place where we could ask somebody when he had to decide. I don't want to go back in such a situation. This was an experiment and I was exhausted. It took me a whole month, the whole month of July. I was just recovering because it ended in June. And I was like, then July was for me, sitting, recovering before I could start doing my things again. I needed the whole month. And then now I'm fine. But it took.
The book, How to Make Friends and Good Business or something from Dale Carnegie. I don't know how the English title is, very famous. I find it so funny in such situations to use our projector gift of insight.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, don't talk about yourself. Nobody cares about you. Everyone just cares about themselves.
Yeah.
And in my old employment, there was a person who was just from the outside, always engineering is always all crazy people, and the confidence goes down gradually. So, and he wanted this file to be named exactly like that because he needed to file it and so on. And I am a very, as a Virgo ascending, uh, I am already very accurate.
Mm.
And then I was aggressive. I wrote a mail with everything I wanted to say. Then I erased everything. And then I said, I know it better, so make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrote, oh, I appreciate your way and I see that you need to do it in this file system. And I know my, when I make a mistake, it makes more work for you. And I appreciated him. I used my insight to sugarcoat him. I don't know if the saying goes in English the same. And it was so funny. He wrote back, oh, thank you. And he wrote a mail to everyone out and explaining everything in detail to everyone else. And he wanted more of the appreciation from others. And then the next time I sent him a mail, I think I wrote one letter in capital instead of small. And then he wrote back, oh, but don't matter. I've already changed it, and I just wanted to say that this was wrong.
Yeah.
Previously, he always complained about it,
Yes.
and it feels like manipulation, but we always interact, so it's not like that. But it's so funny.
No, I also needed that one. I needed apparently the supervisor for that because it had already escalated quickly. I know also why it happened. She had got a criticism from the boss about some numbers of how many people we advised it was not enough. And so she put it all, she didn't listen, so I couldn't say anything. But when it got to this supervision mediation, I was so grateful that exactly what you could do by yourself, that this woman made us each say something appreciative to the other. So it was easy for me. I could say, "Oh, I see how you this great order system." Also, these people were so good with admin. Sometimes they lacked people skills. Of course, I didn't say that. I was just telling her how wonderful she was with all this admin and how I could never do that. And she sees every little mistake and how important that is for the project, because she had to listen then. And then she could see she was suddenly the queen of the room. And she was happy, and she could also say, but you're the one who can work with people. And so that's how it happened. But it's good you could do this without it having escalated already.
Is there anything you would like to share with your authority colleagues?
What did I say? Yeah, this I said already. This be gentle with ourselves, and this self-loving, which is so important, and also accept that not everybody is for us, and we can't make everybody love us. Even though for us as self-projector, if we put something out into the world, like if we were carpenters making a table and somebody criticizes the table, with us it's always about ourselves. Yeah, so that's what we need to know, why we are often so hurt while other people are like, okay, well, I make another one. Yeah, whatever we offer, and with us it's mostly about even servicing, to help others, to guide others, to raise awareness. All these things is what makes us. And then if somebody doesn't like that or doesn't find it good, it can really be very hard on us, because it goes right into our identity. That's how we are. And if it happens, also say it can happen, it's okay. Because I have this, sometimes I don't get the feedback, or and then I can assume maybe it wasn't so good, otherwise the person might have said something. And then I'm like, this happens to me if somebody, and I don't want to do this anymore. Somebody says, I don't want to have a reading where we talk, record something and send it to me. And I'm not sure, if I don't have this feedback, for instance, if this there was no reaction, okay, fine. So I'm like, oh my God, either it was not. So I need this for myself. I realized that. And that's why at least I need a talk afterwards, or have a reading where we connect online, to know as a self projector, everything that we do, that we live, is about our identity, and we put ourselves out there, and the world is cruel, is unaware, or maybe it just doesn't really resonate. And then be gentle with ourselves, because the world isn't, maybe. And that helps me a lot to forgive myself also for certain things. I'm like, oh, was that unaware again? Why did it happen now? Yeah, so that was one thing. And as I also said, with split definition, that you also have, that's only for those who have a split, that we really need others to feel complete, but be aware that they bring all their stuff into our lives. And the split is a conditioning factor number one. So all our bridges can condition us, or our mind can play out in the bridge, saying, if I only had that, I would be great. And for those who are single definition, so don't ever forget the openness where we get the conditioning, and that this is normal and it takes time. And again, be gentle. Yeah, be strong and be determined. But if something happens, don't we shouldn't beat ourselves up, because that's what we tend to. Oh, stupid me! How could I still? And the more we give ourselves the self love, the easier and the faster it really goes in reality to arrive in a different place. And I wish this for everybody, that we are full of self love and know how special we are, and how much we have to give with this G center. And it's so nice also to connect with other G people, that we can find each other sometimes. It's very good. And I'm so grateful for you to have um, yeah, contacted me and created that. I feel full of self love, of love, and I'm very excited and happy that it happened. Thank you so much for giving me that space.
Oh, thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for being here, Teresa. It was a joy that you shared with us. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you. And yeah, so because you asked before how people can find me, if somebody wants to contact me on Facebook, please send a PM, a private message. Do not send out friends requests, especially with people who I do not have common friends with. I do not accept friends requests before I know who the person is. So I have already very big many friends, and I even need to reduce that. But PMs are fine. I see that at least I look once or twice a week, and then I can answer back. But please, not too many friends requests. I mean, I also have an email address. People can, if they're really interested in work with me or what I offer, that could be my email address, which is thesijagersberg@gmail.com. It's THESE.
So I will put it in the show
Yes.
notes then, and the Facebook link too, then it's
Yeah.
easiest.
Thank you. And I'm really very impressed with how you do that, how you ask the right questions, how you guide through the whole thing. It's very nice to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.